as far as the Testnet V3, right? Everyone wants Testnet V3. People are looking at the GitLab to see development activity, and maybe there's a little bit more development activity. Everybody wants the Testnet V3. A lot of people are speculating on a big announcement today. By the way, I'm speaking tonight at 8 p.m. Okay, guys, I'm on the undercard.
Is that what you're telling me? You're making the announcement?
Yeah.
You're announcing V3?
Me and Richard on the panel together. No. But what do you think? Is there going to be a big announcement? And if yes, okay. If not, then like when will the big announcement be?
I haven't seen any hints from Richard. There's been a lot of tweeting from Katie about the GitLab or GitHub, if that's what's called, and the different like activities by different developers. I think there's like 5 or 6 that have known role in the Pulsechain Pulsex development. Like we are so hungry for any little morsel of a cracker of indica. It's like crossing the desert and you're like, anything.
Yes.
Useful.
So
like we're so information hungry. I think that there will be price movement. There's going to be price movement, I think, today. I think price movement is going to go up in anticipation to hedge. And if there is a message, then you're going to see more price movement. If there's not a message, you're going to see more price movement. So let me just leave it at that.
Sounds like technical analysis.
Today, there's going to be a lot of price movement today. I don't know which direction, but it's going to move.
Yes, and Maddie Allen is watching. Thank you, Maddie Allen, and I'm sure you guys are subscribed to Maddie Allen, and you're watching the Hex conference tonight at 8 p.m. Very special speaker.
Yeah, exciting day, to see how it goes. This one, and I know that there's different narratives about whether it's Richard making an announcement now. Is that justified? Is it worthwhile? Should we do a V3 testnet for a couple of weeks, couple of months? Then it's going to be the question about like the interactions, data feeds. There's going to be content people would generate. It's talking about this is what the price of Hex on the new testnet is, and this is what the price of Pulsechain. And look, it's a 3-to-1 ratio, and they're going to do all these gamings. Just keep in mind when you do have a reset and your coins are basically, your free coins that are play money, not real money, can't bridge out on V3 is, there's going to be narratives, and we're going to come up with the same speculations about what you should price a PLS token, what you should price a Pulse X token, what you should price Hex or Link or anything else that's, would migrate over. Like, keep in mind, there's no consequence. It's very similar to what I was talking about with the Twitter anonymous, YouTube anonymous saying, trust me, bro, I'm going to develop a code for you.
I got the devs.
Yeah, I've got the devs. We're all lined up. We're going to do it. Just give me $10 million and we'll be golden.
No expectations.
Yeah. So that narrative. So just keep in mind that that's the same thing that plays out in testnet. There is no risk for someone dropping $1 billion into a testnet, right? A billion, number with a dollar sign in front of it that you cannot treat as dollars because there's no loss. It is similar to, again, the federal government doesn't have a loss. All they lose is political clout. They do not have a capital loss. They just lose office if they lose that at all. So like there's not consequence the same way. Yeah. And so if he announces, then I see the Hex price moving. If he doesn't announce, I see it moving. If March, I think what happens in March, like my future anticipation of markets would kind of goes along with a narrative that may play out with Hex. Complete speculation, no input from Richard whatsoever. Nothing's informing me. These are just educated guesses in my brain and how I'm going to play my own game.
Yeah.
So for me, it doesn't really matter at all to the Hex price for me until Pulsechain actually launches.
Yeah.
Like people are going to speculate and try to anticipate or front run or sell early or buy their bag back lower or buy it higher. They're going to do all that stuff anyway. And it just is going to be an excuse to do so because V3 is launched, right? And then when Pulsechain actually happens, there's going to be a couple of days where people will ratio trade in the same hyper slobbering frenzy that probably will happen, right? Ratio trading themselves either into better position, but probably into a worse position.
Yes, I'm very against the ratio trading.
Yeah. And then there's going to be the quote unquote real market. And the quote unquote real market happens when there's a bridge. And when there's a bridge to dollars buy things or services, that's where you see, the maturing of this Pulsechain narrative. And you're going to see people that are very anti Pulsechain try to break the code or steal the value to collapse the Richard Hart, narrative or the hexagon narrative. You're going to see that threat vector, and you're going to see enthusiasm by people that are speculating, just like I will be. I will be speculating, and if it all works out great, I deserve the glory, and if it all works out horribly, I deserve the loss. Like that's this game. So I think that what may play out is. If PulseX does not have embedded into it some form of V3 type mechanism on testnet, and we're not playing with something that allows for V3 liquidity placement, even though it may not be identical code to Uniswap's V3, if that hasn't been solved, then I don't personally think that Pulsechain launches before May. I think that May, the value of V3 is excellent. People like Sam Stolt, I like his content. In general, efficient. It's more efficient to have V3. And if it doesn't have, if PulseX doesn't have an embedded a version that allows similar action to V3, then V3 could be forked and be available in May of the coming year.
So you're saying that they're going to wait till they could fork Uniswap V3 to launch Pulsechain?
Either to embed it into PulseX or to control the AMM bot about liquidity on the new V3. I don't know. I really don't know how that would work with the AMM. I mean, with the fixer bot,
Mm-hmm. You're saying because the liquidity with V3 is different than V2, so they wouldn't be able to.
Well, people that have liquidity already on Ethereum will be harvested by the fixer bot, and placed into PulseX. But that doesn't mean that just means that their liquidity moved, but the keys are still owned by the people. The people that had liquidity on a different bot, now they have it on the PulseX, or a different DEX, they have it on PulseX, right? So if there is, we saw Sushi Swap and Uniswap and Vampire Attacks, and we see, what Richard calls liquidity locusts. Basically, people will move the liquidity to where it's best treated. Right now, where liquidity is best treated in DEXs is V3 Uniswap. So either PulseX has to be able to compete by having a V3 concentration element, or it has to effectively be more appealing than when V3 is available and somebody will launch it. So somebody, if it's not Richard, somebody will fork V3, whether it's Hayden and the current Uniswap people, or it will just be forked when it's available to do so, when the license allows for such, and someone will launch a Uniswap fork. And I think that if V3 is part of that, then liquidity will migrate, and it may migrate from PulseX. The narrative may at least split it between two DEXs, if Pulsechain doesn't have incorporated into it something that's competitive.
So you're saying they're going to wait till V3 could be forked?
I think they're going to wait until V3.
Okay. And by the way, just for the record, I don't say a lot of things for the record. I don't think there's a big Pulsechain announcement tonight. That's just what it doesn't feel like it. And
I think that people are going to be shorting. I think there's going to be some shorting action. I think there's going to be. Click
the affiliate link in the description, guys. You want to trade this? Big move.
I think there's going to be some. There's going to be a lot of commentary tomorrow. Let's just get at that. There's going to be commentary. I don't know what the commentary is going to be. It depends on what Richard says. But if Richard says basically the same things that every other interview he's had in the past, 4 or 5 months, price will go down.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like people are going to look for like nuances in his speech. And it reminds me of like XRP, like there'd be like a World Bank forum, whatever. And they'd see like, we need to improve our monetary system. And like the XRP community is like lit up like World Bank just referred to the XRP global reserve currency. Like people are getting like that with Richard Hart and like what he says. But usually what people say is what it seems like people say is what they're saying. There's not much in between it. That's just the way I see it. But I guess the question would be, again, is there a hard stop for time? I don't want to keep you.
No. I think I think that if he says V3 is available, everyone's going to be happy. They're going to be placated. There's going to be enthusiasm. There's going to be commentary. There's going to be probably Hex price, reversal on its climb in anticipation. Mm-hmm. Now we've got a V3. Okay. When the next question, seconds after he says something like that, is going to be when launch.
Yes.
Now that you've got V3, everybody's going to be like, when launch, right?
Yeah.
All over again, like they have for every version. But if it has a different feature set, if it is interesting, if it has a version similar to V3 and people can start playing around with it, they're gonna figure out their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say, hey, and there's going to be a lot of content that generates over the next few months about why, PulseX and why Pulsechain and what's the transaction cost and, why should you liquidity pair with your Ethereum and bridge it over? Like there's going to be a lot of great narrative. And if that happens in a macroeconomic light, the halvening, if you look at the halvening for Bitcoin for the past 3 cycles, 6 months working its way up to the halvening itself, but 6 months prior and up, you see price performance. Yeah. And you see that, buy the rumor. So people are buying the rumor to accumulate. And then usually on a halvening for about 30 days, you see a sell the news where it dips, and it doesn't do massive dips, but it dips. And then you see a long climb. I don't know that Bitcoin will continue to always be the reference because of its halvening, but it's just like traders. When many people are looking at the same chart, they often come to the same conclusion because of the chart formations, and then they tend to push the chart because they're looking at the same information.
That's
so. If we are, many people are looking at the Bitcoin halvening and they say it happens around March of 23 or March of 24, then 6 months before that would be around September, which is probably likely, who knows, the Fed will have been through its pause and might be on its pivot to actually start, 25 basis points decline in rate. Mm-hmm. And set up for basically the 2024 presidential election. So there's a lot of like great tailwinds that a Pulsechain V3 now launch March of May or June of 23, kick off a potential bull. Hex in some ways gets credited with this bull market of Uniswap being popular in 2019. So like we have the narrative, and when people say, "Oh man," like even Costa says, "I didn't get in Hex. People got in Hex. Everybody got in Hex before me." like I missed that opportunity. I hear him echo it a lot. Well, opportunity, when you have a zero cost coin token on Pulsechain as a fork, you are getting that half for free. It is free. And you have a T-share rate, which is copied over, but like your price to get that T-share rate is next to nil, right? It's almost nothing, right? So like there's a lot of reasons why there could be a good push inside of Pulsechain Hex and its price performance. And Richard desires as many I told you so's as he can in his biography. What he wants in his biography is significance. He is looking, in my opinion, to replace the Vitalik moniker, the Satoshi moniker. Like he wants that level of glory.